Good morning. I'd like to promise you we're not going to do YMCA again, okay? So that's a promise, not a threat. So my name's Steve. I work for Google London, and my remit is across EMEA, working across verticals. I work on sites as well as apps, and advise clients right across their product lifecycle. So sometimes we advise them on UX deep dives to optimize their products if they have them in the marketplace. We also improve their designs and development approaches, and we help them with the ideation as well. And today we're going to focus on app. Two things. The first thing is user experience, and why as businesses we all need to become more customer obsessed, and that is irrespective if you're a pure play or you're an incumbent established brand with offline physical retail stores. And app UX and some of the principles I developed a few months ago, and how that can help you drive conversions, and obviously how that manifests itself in terms of revenue. So user experience. So an easy question I usually ask my clients, which is, do you prefer products as consumers that are useless, hard to use, and frustrating, or useful, easy to use, and delightful? It's a pretty easy question to ease us in, and the answer is fairly obvious, which begs the question, why is the world so full of poor sites and poor apps? If we all know what the answer is, why is that? And it's probably because we're not really thinking about the customer experience end to end. And that moves us from thinking about the app and the user experience, user interface, as something we simply interact with and what it looks like visually, into how it actually works, and across the whole end-to-end life cycle of their experience. So whether there's an offline component at the start of the journey, then they come into the app, or whether they move between different devices, and whether there's a retail component at the end, or there's an offline component, or there's fulfillment of goods. It's the end-to-end experience and how it actually works, as well captured by Steve Jobs there. Our approach to Android, in terms of how we design apps with the Android team, is we work on a basis of a customer pain point equates to 1, and it takes 3 positive experiences to overcome that 1 negative experience. So we need to fix those pain points the customers experience, because we're going to quickly run out of positive experiences to counteract that. So if a sort of average app lifecycle looks like this in terms of 4 abstract stages, we have the adoption stage, the usage stage, the transaction stage, and then we have reasons to return to the app. And we have painful moments across that life cycle, and we have enjoyable moments across that life cycle. And the average customer experience might look something like this. They have painful moments and enjoyable moments. And what we need to do is really understand what are those pain points that customers experience. And we can look at our data to look for that. We can run A/B tests, multivariate tests. We can run experiments to prove significance. Or we can actually talk to our customers and find out. So what are the core problems we're trying to solve for them? What core problems do they experience in interacting with our services? What context do they use our services within? And then we can identify those pain points so we can fix them. And we can identify those enjoyable moments that will either extend our services to become more enjoyable, or it'll unwrap new unmet needs that we can further exploit. And it's really taking that sort of full customer lifecycle approach to design that will help our propositions. Because as mobile consumers, we're pretty demanding and we're pretty unforgiving. Pretty small devices, we're snatching at it, we have very little time. It's partly because customer expectations are changing so fast. And it's probably one of the biggest changes. 10 years ago, companies would redevelop their products, refresh their product suite and portfolios based on what their competitors were doing, or based on what their vendors would come to them in terms of new technology and say, we've got some amazing stuff, perhaps you should leverage it. But the expectations are changing today based on the people who are setting those expectations. And that's not websites, it's mobile apps. And I'll just talk about some of the attributes that customers are looking for, and some of the players that we probably all were aware of that are satisfying those new attributes. So the customer expectation for on-demand and just-in-time experiences that people like OpenTable and Uber give them. Convenience. So who can take a huge marketplace of unleveraged, unutilized inventory and aggregate that in a really simple way and convenient way and give me access to it through a simple interface, something that Airbnb does. Touch. So the big difference that apps can have over sites is leveraging the latest smartphone interaction models that are available, which things like iOS, you have touch to sign in, touch to pay, and touch substitutes manual data entry, which is a given on a smartphone. Personalization of services. So Walgreens are one of the best of these in the US, big pharmacy retail chain, thousands of chains. And if you buy pharmacy products from them, you have subscriptions of pharmacy products, on the app, it'll tell you when you need to refresh those products. It knows how many tablets you have in a pack. You have 30, you're going to run out on Tuesday. It can tell you when you're going to run out. It allows you to scan the bottles to check dosage and things like that. So they give you a very personalized app experience and solving real problems. And local fulfillment. So I want something immediately. It's on demand, just in time. I also want local fulfillment right now. And people like Instacart give you that experience. So see, these are some of the attributes, and see, these are some of the brands that are leveraging smartphones, leveraging apps, leveraging things that apps can give you, which is access to the latest sensors on a device to substitute manual data entry, leveraging the latest services and APIs available to you to create these cool services. So last month I was in Spain, and I met a company called Caprea, a startup. And their proposition is quite simple. They said, we're Instacart for Spain. So it's a fairly simple proposition. You can buy your groceries from any number of stores through Caprea, and they'll fulfill it within an hour. So it's a very, very convenient service. It's also quite a difficult service to build because there's the marketplace of drivers to do the fulfillment part, which is kind of like Uber. And then there's all the dealing with groceries and API feeds from different retailers, different real-time pricing and so on. So it's quite a difficult model to get right. And when I asked them how long it took them to go from conception to fulfillment, operational, they said 3 months, which for some of the startups in the room, that they might say, yeah, that's pretty good. But 3 months is a staggering figure when you're talking to incumbent brands and the speed that they innovate at. Rocket Internet, a big German client of ours, they basically replicate propositions from all over the world, and they work on an average timing of 3 months to get the startup ideas to be operational, which just goes to show that the speed of ideas that get launched, and also the cadence of the release cycles, which is probably every sprint or every month in terms of updates and releases. So these are the brands that are setting a very high baseline for expectations for customers, which is what we all have to follow. And as I said just now, it's the access to the latest sensors and services that separates apps from sites. So we have lots of brands that don't know which kind of path to go down. Do we develop sites? Do we develop web apps, hybrid apps, native apps? But it's native apps that gives you access to these amazing sensors and services. So transport, obviously based on GPS. Proximity, sensors. Shazam uses the microphone for audio search. Snap Fashion, that uses visual search on the camera to look for fashion items. Walgreens, you can use the camera to scan barcodes. Zalando, people like that. ASOS use touch to sign in or touch to pay. And then you have things like accelerometers, gyroscopes, temperature monitors, and things like that to do health and wellness propositions. So every time a new sensor comes out in a handset, it enables a new business model or a new proposition. And that's the kind of speed of we're looking at. So it's mobile apps that are shaping these new customer expectations, which is why it's so important we improve conversion through the user experience and through the UX. And we can only really do that if we become more customer obsessed. Not just looking at the data, but actually engaging customers to find out what are the pain points and what are the opportunities. Right, so that's why we need to become more customer obsessed. So let's look at some UX principles. So if we think of these as the sort of key 4 e-commerce stages, there's the adoption stage, where users are thinking, do I adopt or reject your proposition? And the key principle at this stage is to remove all roadblocks to usage. So they're trying to get into your app to use it as fast as possible to determine whether it's of value to them or not. All the obstacles you've put in their way, like signing in, permissions, onboarding sequences, they're all roadblocks. Usage. So they're starting to use the app. They're looking for the products and services they want. At this point, it's about making conversion decisions as simple as possible to get them into transactions. At transaction stage, it's about making those as ultimately as convenient as possible. Because what you usually get with apps is that you've got cached content, stored transaction details. Nothing you put in once should ever be forgotten. So you should give the ultimate convenience. And then return. So what level of self-service do you give customers? Do you let them serve themselves? And how engaging and delightful is the proposition? So what reasons do you give them to come back to your app? Because as was mentioned earlier, retention is a real problem. So let's go and look at some of the examples at the adoption stage. So John Lewis. So first principle, put the user in control. skip onboarding and skipping sign up. So even if you desperately want to get their data, to get their accounts, so you can have a CRM relationship with them, put them in control. So even though John Lewis want you to sign up for their accounts, they allow you to click shop now and get straight into the app. Get them into usage as fast as possible. Minimizing your corporate identity. Primary content only and home screen is content. So Airbnb, the only corporate identity they show you is their tiny logo in the bottom left of the screen. So again, they're using all of the real estate to merchandise. Because you've already chosen to download the app, you know who they are. You don't need to be reminded on every screen about their corporate identity and logos. And primary content only. So again, the wonderful thing about mobile is it forces businesses to determine what is important to the user and what isn't, or what is of secondary importance. And you put the primary content on the screen, everything that's secondary, get it off the screen. Either put it off canvas or remove it from the proposition altogether. And home screen is content. So again, you don't need a conventional home screen. You can actually make the home screen the merchandising, as opposed to drilling down into merchandise. Make the use case, navigation, and user journey obvious. So one of the things that apps excel at is a single use case that you access through a single icon on your home screen. Click an icon, straight into the use case, execute, and out again. It's one of the amazing things that apps have that they're available. Just Eat is a great example. Put in your postcode, choose your food, and that's it, a single use case. Delay registration permissions and put a benefit statement. So if you want sign up, delay it until the user requests it and they have to have it. As in, delay it until they add something to their basket or add something to the wish list, or they want to use some kind of personalization features. So you've delayed sign up until the latest moment and then give them a benefit statement for doing it. And then for signing in, use social sign-in. Again, give them the fastest experience on mobile to reduce manual data entry. Passwords, show and reveal the password as they're typing it. Again, we get loads of abandonment with people who can't see what they're typing, or they type the wrong one in. And in any kind of regulated industry, after 2 attempts, you're going to be screened out, and you probably have to use click to call the company. And use touch. Touch to pay, touch to sign in. Substitute all manual effort. So usage. So the user decided to adopt your app. They're now using it, and they're trying to make conversion decisions as simple as possible. So search. So people who go to the app who know what they want, they'll convert 2 or 3 times higher than somebody who doesn't use search. So they're very, very important. This is an example from an app called Verb. They're a listings business. They have quite a sophisticated search result display. So they show you, so after 2 or 3 characters, they use auto-suggest. They auto-populate results to provide immediate value and to stop you from typing in the whole search term. They give you graphics and icons for the actual search results. They show you what categories the search results are in. So they're continually refining so you get to the exact search result you're looking for as fast as possible, providing the ultimate value. Giving you different ways to search. So search by barcode. If you're in a shop, we see a huge amount of traffic with people either on mobile sites or mobile apps going to store and using them in store. You can leverage that by enabling them to scan your items. Search by image. Again, visual search is quite popular in some fashion apps and clothing apps and retail apps. And it's almost becoming the primary user journey as opposed to text search or categories, searching visually, and tagging username. And then merchandising. So this is probably one of the most common problems I find in both sites and apps, which is companies just don't merchandise that well. And if you think about it in digital, the image is the product, because there's nothing physical or tangible to look at or to inspect. So the quality of your imagery and the ability to zoom in or out, or to rotate around, or to have video, the quality that you have there will nudge them towards conversion far more than if you have poor quality imagery. This is Hotel Tonight. They use these lovely full bleed images, has multiple images, and they merchandise their rooms really well. Also having things like salient product information, so you get the key points, and customer reviews and testimonials. All these things nudge them across into a transaction. And then cross-device shopping. So if you think about 90% of people use multiple devices in any given day, when people are actually doing the shopping task, 65% of people use multiple devices. So this is kind of a common behavior. And cross-device shopping, if you think about the primary call to action is buy now or add to basket, the secondary call to action should always be add to wish list, add to favorites, save for later. Any technique to allow somebody who doesn't intend to convert in that session to convert later on. Because there's lots of motivations why people don't convert in session. Some people are waiting to chat to their partners to get a second opinion. Some people are waiting for the end of the month to get paid. Some people are waiting until the evening to go onto a different device or they have more time. And that secondary call to action is for anybody who doesn't intend to convert in a session. And for those people, there is no motivation to get them to do it. So you have to have that secondary call to action. It needs equal weighting with a primary call to action, so they're together, because remember, it's one decision you're asking people to make, either buy now, buy later. And if you can make that a sticky call to action, so they can scroll up and down looking at product information, making a decision, and if they're sticky call to actions, they're always visible so they can quickly click on it. Reducing form input. OpenTable are probably one of the best proponents at auto-suggesting your form, your data. You open OpenTable, and they automatically suggest that you're looking for a table for 2 today at 12 p.m. in your current location. So that's 4 pieces of data they've suggested. Now, for the vast majority of users, that will be correct. So they've saved you a huge amount of manual effort. And they also show you the times available as tabs. So within a couple of seconds, you just click a tab, and you're done. It's that simple. Now, the principle in computing is that you shouldn't ask a question that you can guess the answer to. And OpenTable will do this pretty well. So you found an item that you want to transact. And this is about providing convenience. So ASOS, you're in the basket. Most baskets only allow you to change the quantity of an item. ASOS allow you to change all the attributes of an item, because for them, it's about keeping you in that quarantined environment. So you're not going to go back into the purchase funnel, which is what they don't want. So with them, you can change the color, you can change the size, all the attributes in a quarantine environment, and you go straight through to checkout. Flipkart give you reassuring messages. So at each stage of the checkout, you want to reassure people. So at the bottom of the screen, they show you, they guarantee these are original products, cash on delivery, free and easy returns, 100% buyer protection. All the key things that people want, especially if they're first-time customers of a brand. One-screen checkout. So this is Ukes, Italian retail brand. It's not really a one-screen checkout, but they give you the impression it's a one-screen checkout. Because if you click on shipping address or billing address, they move you sideways to a screen, you fill in the details, and they move you back again. So just like Amazon one-click, it's not really one-click, but they give you the impression it's one-click. They give you the impression this is going to be easy and fast. And then express payment option or scanning cards. So in previous brands I've worked for before Google, people who offer the scanner card option, around 50% of customers take it. So that's 50% of customers having a really convenient experience, not manually entering the long number, the long name, and so on, which means you've reduced abandonment for people entering in wrong information. Uber does this really well. You can scan a card, or you can just use a single field to enter in your card details. So most companies would have a long number field, a name field, end date fields, security fields. With Uber, it's just one single field, and the data moves across. You put the next piece of information in, and it moves across again. So again, they give you the impression it's going to be really simple and quick. And then confirmation screen. If you think about it, once you finish your transaction, the confirmation screen is your first opportunity to retain a user. It's your first opportunity to give them really engaging content. So as well as telling people what they've just bought or booked, repeating that information, which is reassuring, it's your first chance to give them other types of content and experiences to retain them and give them reasons to come back. And Booking.com do that exceptionally well. And then return. So what reasons do you give customers to return? So enable them to self-serve. So managing cancelling bookings, tracking inventory and items they're getting sent to homes or offices. Loyalty card details, loyalty card profiles. Being able to self-serve should be done via the app. It's the remote control for your interactions with that brand. And then an alternative type of user journey. So the utilitarian user journey is I know what I'm looking for, I'll use search, or I know what I'm looking for, I'll shop through categories or book through categories. But then there's the user journey for customers who don't know what they're looking for. They're not quite sure. And they're in discovery mode. They're looking to be inspired by customers, by an experience. So giving people an experience where they have, for example, infinite streams of content, and it could be inventory, products, hotel bookings, and so on. Giving them feeds based on trends, based on friends. So this is an alternative user journey based on allowing people to discover what they're looking for and inspiring them. Personalization, this is Zalando. So you land on the home screen in the Zalando app. They give you the kind of key categories that they support. But below that, they also give you their key items, just like you would in a shop front of a retail store. And they also give you the brands that you can just click and like. And the more you do that, the more personalized the experience becomes with Zalando. And visual design, often overlooked. So again, Ukes do this particularly well. So as you go through the checkout, you go through the transaction journey with Ukes, if you click on a color, it'll give you visual feedback of what you've just done. Then it'll tell you what the sizes you need to do next. So it'll give you visual feedback about what you need to click next. And you go into the basket, and you get some hidden features revealed to you, and then they close again. So Ukes really try to use visual feedback to confirm what you've just done, to show you what you need to do next, and to reveal hidden features, so you're not cluttering up the screen with extraneous content. And then notifications and widgets. So again, if you think about the best of the content in your app being surfaced up into the smartphone in either notifications or widgets, that are timely, personal, and relevant to the user, that's something you need to think about as a re-engagement channel. So people who use notifications a lot, they don't need to go into your app to find out what your latest items are, or to find out what your offers are for them and things like that. So again, information being abstracted out of your apps into other channels on the smartphone, whether it's iOS or Android. And as I just mentioned here, on the left-hand side, you've got notifications and widgets. And for people like me who use the smartphone, we also have notifications on a smartphone. So if you think about the best of your content, whether it's timely and relevant being surfaced into the smartphone, it's now being surfaced into the smartwatch as well. So again, stay with your customers where they engage you and how you can re-engage them. Right, so I think I'm out of time, but have I got 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Okay. So I just want to mention something about the web, because obviously this is an app event, but I think this is contextual. So for me, the value of the web has always been in its huge reach. So you have browsers, you can reach any page or site anywhere in the world, the browser being the neutral platform, as espoused by Tim Berners-Lee. But the value of apps has always been in features and richness. So that's the big difference. But that's kind of changing. So we have web that's becoming slightly richer. So Google has a product called Google Polymer that allows you to add web components to a site to extend it, but it can also make a site more app-like. So using our web components, you can make your website work offline. You can have push notifications, just like you would expect to have on an app. You can have background syncing. You can add your icon to the home screen. You can make your site work in full screen mode. So we have, Google Polymer allows your site to work more like an app, which makes the decision for businesses to substantiate why they should build native apps that much more difficult. So the web's all about reach, but it's moving towards apps in terms of richness. But then apps, which are always based on features, is opening up. So you have app indexing and deep linking. So we're extending the audience and extending the reach for apps. So the two kind of platforms are moving slightly closer together. And it's a trajectory that we should all monitor, so we can make those key product decisions about which ones we develop for and which ones we think about next. And these are some of the components that you can build with Google Polymer. So you can work offline. So if you lose your connection, your content is available. You can send push notifications, and you can add install banners. So you can add the icon to the home screen. And this is Flipkart. I don't know how many people heard about Flipkart Lite last week. Not many, okay. So Flipkart is the biggest e-commerce retailer in India. It's a huge, huge business. And they developed a new web app, which they call Flipkart Lite, because as a business, they used to be web plus native apps. Last year, they said we're going native app only. We're getting rid of our sites. They kind of reversed that and said, actually, we do need a web app. So they developed a web app using Google Polymer. And it's a pretty amazing app. Currently, it works on Chrome and Android. So if you use Chrome and Android, do a Google search and find it. It's a wonderful app. You would never know it's not a native app and experience. They have a splash screen, which obviously you don't get with web, but you do with our web apps. It works offline. You can add the icon to the home screen, just like a native app. It has a beautiful sliding navigation scheme, which is 60 frames a second, which is what, again, we aim for with native apps. And you get push notifications even when the browser's closed. So again, you would never know it's not a native app. So it's a technology that, so if you're fairly early adopter-ish and you're tech savvy, take a look at Google Polymer. Thank you.